We're lit.
Preparing to live stream the meeting.
Yeah. We're doing it. We're doing it. This is exciting.
Okay. All right. So it's going. Let me mute it though. Let's see how do I do that? Okay. Okay, I think that should be good. Trying to see if I hear the echo. Okay, because there's recording behind this on my phone, I guess. I was like, I don't want to hear the YouTube on top of us.
Oh yes, it says we're live. We're live.
Amazing.
We made it.
Hi, Charlie.
Hi, Gary. Hi.
Happy Sunday to you.
Happy Sunday. Happy Mother's Day to you. Happy Mother's Day to the folks who are mothering themselves. Thank you. Shout out to the folks. Happy Mother's Day to the folks who are reparenting themselves. So yes, you may have mothered yourself. It doesn't mean that you don't also have to reparent. Shout out to the folks who have parented their parents. And also shout out to all the folks who have had children who are not mothers, who do not identify as mothers. Period. And also for folks who are grieving their mothers and all the ways that we grieve our mothers. Mothers who have passed on, mothers that mothers are just no longer also in our lives, that are alive.
Yeah.
For all those reasons.
Those that are grieving, those that are still alive.
Yeah. So all right, we're here. Happy Sunday. How do we want to start this? Who are you? Who am I?
Yeah, that's always a good one. Who are you today, Charlie?
Today, I am healer. I am teacher. I am lover. I am guide. I am a person healing. That is who I am today. I am still Charlie Lestrange. Pronouns are he and they. Yeah, and I show up here as that, as those things, and as a human being, just a human being. Oh, who are you? Who are you being today?
I am Gary. I am strange. I am sad. I am joyous. I am a caregiver. I'm a care receiver. I'm a friend. I am a daughter and grappling with what that means when I'm also grieving my mom while she's alive. One second, let me close the door. I'm a visitor. I am in somebody's space. I am soft and tender. A feeler. I'm a feeler. That's who I am today for sure. This week.
Yeah.
Leading up to this time has definitely been. I actually didn't even know. I don't know. I noticed that my mood was kind of funky, and I didn't quite know what it was. And then I started to, I guess, people started sending things about Mother's Day. And I think it was Etsy who had asked me, do you not want to see things? We know Mother's Day is a sensitive time for people. Would you rather not see things about mothers? And I was like, you know what? Kind of, yes, please. Thank you. And I think it was after that moment realizing, oh yeah, it's all this non-consensual being shown motherhood and how you need to honor and respect and cherish your mother, and not using the disclaimer that you just did in the beginning of acknowledging all the different ways motherhood shows up, and what you you know, we are all doing different kinds of things regarding reparenting, but like seeing the commercialization of Mother's Day, and it's like you have to go give your mom, and we talked about it too, of going to like, what are you going to get for your mom? And knowing that I'm not going to get anything for my mom, just had a weird feeling throughout the month, yeah, leading up until now. Yeah. Oh, you're muted, Charlie.
Thank you. The commercialization of Mother's Day is really a rough one. I think partially because it is commercialized and the way that because it is commercialized, it's kind of like if you do not do something for your mother, then you're a bad child. Or you're not honoring your mother if you do not buy your mother something. And what that means looks like. And what happens also then when you don't want to spend time with your mother. I think a lot of adults are realizing there is not really that much of an obligation. Like there is, but there's not, right? That obligation is what we've been taught about how to show up for our mothers, but it is important to be honest about what the relationship is and what that therefore requires of you as far as like how you celebrate your mother, your experience with your mother, and how you've been mothered. Um, because no shade. I'm not saying I even think that my mother is a bad mother, but what happens to the bad mothers on Mother's Day? Like the bad, like the bad mothers in the sense of quote unquote bad mothers, in like that mom that really did not want their kids. They did not want them kids. They had to have them. Did not want them kids. The mom that left their kids, right, for whatever the reasons were, right? They left them to foster care, left them to be adopted. Uh, dare I say, even the people who've had abortions.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Right.
it gets a little mucky, but it is also important to be present to that as well.
Yeah.
That experience that even as a person who may have had an abortion, you may still feel like, you were a mom. And some people are like, oh, but you're bad. I wouldn't say that that's bad. You made a decision for your body.
Right.
Um, and even if later on you change, sometimes people consider themselves bad moms because they had abortions in the past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that that's also really important to be present with, is that I don't think that that makes you a bad mom. You made a choice for your body.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also then the ways that like the commercialization of Mother's Day makes it so that I think mothers get praised for having children and not necessarily even for their mothering
Mm-hmm.
abilities.
Yes, yes. And then that's actually all again back about capitalism. Because if you're
Mhm.
praising somebody for their production, which is to have a kid, it's not about them as people. It's about what they could do for people. The human
Right.
doing part, honoring the human doing versus the human being that is a person who
Hmm.
has given life to somebody. And like you
Yeah.
said, it doesn't account for the actual quality of care that is being
Mhm.
administered.
Right. It's like you created a thing, a whole life, and I think that needs to be honored. That has to be honored. And I think, what could it look like? I wonder what it would look like. It could look like for mothers to just honor other mothers, um, in all the different forms. What does that look like in a space? Even for the dads, for the dudes who've mothered
Mm-hmm.
children, right? Single fathers, just single parents, like raising a child, and they're not necessarily a woman, right? They
Mm-hmm.
don't identify as a woman, but they also still nurtured and mothered a child, and I think that
Right.
that is important.
Right.
Um, there's a quality of there's a care, and I think that people be JK and we JK ourselves all the time,
Mm-hmm.
JK ourselves all the time, acting like mother is synonymous with woman, and it is not.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I also want to be clear about that, and shout out to the mothers that have mother children that also were not theirs,
Yeah.
right? That they did not birth, quote unquote. Um, because that is also the thing, is to still hold that energy and not have children of your own And I'm doing this quote as your own of like also like I think children of course choose their parents too. We choose our parents in some ways. So even if we've been mothered outside of our relationships with our biological mothers, we've chosen those people also to love us and
Mm-hmm.
care for us. So something to be present with. I know today we talked about so the title of this being about like grief and motherhood or a Mother's Day, grieving and Mother's Day and really healing that mother wound. So we'll be talking lots about that. Um, I think I'm feeling about talking about my mom thing.
Yeah.
I will be totally transparent and honest in that I have not talked very much or openly about my mom thing. Um, and I realized that in this moment. As open of a book as I am, I would say I think generally intentionally been mindful of not talking too much
Mm-hmm.
publicly about my mom thing.
Yes.
Um, and then realizing that that's actually really important for other people to also not feel alone in that experience, especially other healers. I think that it is important for folks who are doing healing work and energy work to be present with the mom wound. Like people like to talk about the dad wound and stuff, but like really talking about the mom wound, and how we also get to heal ourselves in order to be better parents, not just to ourselves, but to whoever else we end up
Mm-hmm.
parenting and
Yeah.
supporting. I want the children in my life to know that even if their mothers are not the best for them, that there it does in fact take a village, right? That their moms are people too. And when people are disappointing, we also get to give them grace, keep our distance if that is what is needed, right? Prioritizing our own care. And that is also part of the gratitude you give back to those folks, even when they're hurtful. I think that I've really learned that the best thing I can do um, in healing my mother wound is to find nurturing and caring relationships to be in so that I can be better cared for. Because I just think of, again, a mother, people be out here cooking human beings in their bodies. That's crazy. You grew
Mm-hmm.
a person in your body.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I feel like the only way, even if she doesn't see it or acknowledge it or understand it, the best thing I can do to pay homage to my mother is to take the best care of myself. Um, to take care of this creation, that this thing that she created, that she made from her body. And
Mm-hmm.
it is really hard, I know, for myself and for other people to be okay with or hold both the truth of like my mom is not someone I feel like I can be in relationship with right now, or close relationship at least. Um, and also I have to be great. I have to give her gratitude because I would not be here. I would not be here. I don't owe her anything outside of me being here too, but like I would not be here without her. And I think that that can be really. It was definitely a challenge for me to be okay. Oops. I hope I didn't hang up. I just hung up on it. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. I can hear you.
My headphones did a thing.
Okay. Okay. I
Oh,
can
there it
say the
goes.
thing. Okay.
My headphones did the thing. Let me put my. But yeah, so that's what I've gotten. That's what I've been doing with this
Yeah.
whole grief thing.
So I guess what would be useful
It's
are
just
some definitions. Um, so we're all working with the same definition. I looked up mother on etymology online just to see. It's interesting. It's a female parent, a woman in relation to her child. I was like, okay. So then it this is the thing I've often talked about is like you I remember my parents don't like when I say this, but like you would not be a parent if I was not your child. you would just be some woman and some man. It is my existence that makes you mother. Just like, and I used to think that because it'd be like, I'm your mom, and I'm like, yeah, and I'm your kid, but you don't see me flexing it like that. How come you could flex it because it's a
Right.
power thing, but it's not, but it's a relational thing. You are, and I remember when it became very clear to me, I think I was probably around like 16 when I first realized like parents are just people with kids. They're just adults with kids. And like this role, this title of mother that is put on, some people take it very seriously. They think that you get to be absolved of a lot of things, or like it means that people got to tolerate different things, or it just comes with a set of whatever we decide. But it really, at the core of it, is you in relation to your child. What else is it? Let's see. It's based ultimately on the baby talk form ma, which is so interesting. I'm like, but wouldn't kids have been taught that versus saying just out of nowhere ma? The sense of that which has given birth to anything is from late English. Mother Nature comes from like the 1600s. Mother Earth as an expression of the earth as the giver of life is from the 1580s. Mother tongue, one's native language, is attested from the late 14th century. Mother country, it's all of it. It's so interesting this because in Latin mater also means mom. I guess it's one of those words that they created to be like mom through and through. Of like describing the nature, I guess describing an entity or something that nurtures another thing. We use the word mother to talk about that. Is what I'm picking up on from this etymology. And so when I'm thinking now mother wound, if I had to give a simple definition of it, it's like being, if we think of wounded as like vulnerable, the times that you've been made vulnerable, or like some of the experiences that may have harmed you or left you open, in regards to how your mother, the person who birthed you, or usually it's talking about the person who birthed you, and like their absence, how that has affected you, their presence and how that has affected you, the way that they parented and conditioned, what they use in terms of violence or through their words, through their actions, inaction, negligence. And I think a lot of the things for me in my mother wound have been about my mom is such a loving, caring person, and she's an extremely violent person at the same time. And so it's been the dynamic of like being a caring person, but then also being angry about having to care for people. And also a lot of worthiness stuff comes up for me and my mom. Yeah, I don't know that my mom loves herself. And I think that's probably one of the greatest wounds I've had to carry, of seeing somebody love me so much and love the people around her, but ultimately at her core, not being certain of whether or not she loves herself. And it kind of just led me to be very, like, to consider myself a caregiver and want to give care to everybody, but not always know how to receive it. Of not feeling trusting of other people to be able to give me the care because I'm the head caregiver. So I can't, relinquish that to anybody else. Where does my power go then? So a lot of interesting things about power and treating people, and like, especially care in the face of anger. When I learned that you can be like, when I learned you could be angry and like upset with somebody, but you can still be kind to them. Like I had to read those words and I was like, what? Because that was never really the case. When my mom was mad, she was fucking mad. And there was like, all things fell apart. I was no longer in relation to her. She talked to me like I was like her enemy. And so, yeah, those are all some of the things I know that come up for me when I'm thinking about mother wound. So yeah, I'm curious about yours too, Charlie. What working definition you're working with there?
Mother. I would say mother is definitely, I would say, someone who gives life, who like ushers life through their body. I would say someone who is like nurturing, and life giving, even energetically. Nurturing and life giving energetically. And I would say that like mothers are guides.
Mm,
I like that's why it's, and that's again both in energetically and also like legit. Mothers are the guides, I would say. Um
mm,
and I feel like guiding because this comes from a little bit of my training as doula, but really understanding that there is a person whose body we are ushered through, and that
mhm,
literally then can guide us in an experience of ushering in things.
mm,
Okay. And
mm,
so that's why I say guide in that way. I think, I know that the the folks that I consider mother, or the other person that I consider mother, has ushered me through a lot of experiences. And so that's also why I say that. That's
mhm.
also why I say that. I'm also, what you're seeing me do right now is I am currently actively posting also on Instagram so other folks can see
Cool.
the.
Excellent. Oh yeah, yeah. You had also asked about the link. Let me pause
I
real
got
quick.
it.
You know.
I
Oh,
got
you got it. Okay, awesome.
it. Mhm.
Yeah, I love that you said that. One of my favorite statements that I want to get it tattooed on me as an image or in words is let the triggers be the guide. And if your mother is a guide, I mean, it makes sense that she's also triggering.
Mhm.
um, because I feel like I like the phrase "let the triggers be the guide" because it's showing you where the wounds are. It's like calling your attention in a way to, I mean, to really try to get your attention. And I also, a friend of mine once said, when you're feeling triggered now, it's because you're safe enough to heal. Because when the thing happened, there was trauma. And when you're being reminded of it,
Mhm.
I feel like, especially nowadays, as I've learned a lot of things, it's like just calling attention to where I need a little bit more softness
Yep.
and thinking about that inherently with motherhood. It's like, whoa, I never really thought of like triggers and motherhood tied together as like,
Mhm.
yeah, like it's like calling to where the motherhood is needed, where the mothering is needed.
Where the
Um,
mothering is needed, right?
yeah.
Because we also need, like, we have to also address that it feels whack to us to be mothered because we have not been mothered well. But it's also something that we need. It is absolutely imperative
Yes.
that we are doing, that we have mothers in our lives, right? Both as friends, as in community, that we are even just addressing. I see my camera went off. Even when we're just addressing what's coming up for us, it is important to address our mother wound. The ways in which, honestly, people, I think we've been all taught this by society. People have a hard time even saying, I hate my mom.
Yes. Yes.
And no matter what she did for you, I don't care if she worked 5 jobs to make sure there was food on the table and da da da, and then people still be mad. Like, but it's helpful to say, I hate her because of what she did not do or whatever, because then it allows us to address who we expected mother to be, who we thought mother to be, um, who we wanted mother to be, right? Just the same way
Mm,
mothers be thinking, our parents can think that about what life they want for us to have and who they want us to be, etc. We have to address that we also can do the same thing as children, and that hurts us too. Um, to think, oh, mom was supposed to be da 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 da, and then you fuck around and find out your mother's a whole person with a whole own trauma, stuff you didn't know about, and that you also are not supposed to carry,
mhm. Mhm.
and are not supposed to carry that. Um, and that is actually other folks in our community's responsibility to carry our mothers, right? It is their siblings' responsibility to have cared for them better.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is their
Auntie.
aunts and uncles, right? Those
Mhm.
aunts and uncles that should have cared better for them. Um, it is, right? That's our
Friends.
responsibility as siblings. There's friends who should have like some of the things I be hearing some of my friends say that their mother friends have said to their children. I'm like, and you stood by and you didn't say nothing? Oh, well, that's not my kid, and who am I supposed? You gotta say something, because also when that child is quote unquote fucked up later on, you also are responsible because you were there and you witnessed it and you let it happen.
Mm-hmm.
right? When you saw the creepy shit going on and you figured you just a family friend, also you let it happen. So we gotta be with that. We
Yeah.
gotta be with that. And also when we are the, when we are the aunts and the uncles and stuff, we have to say something or even just point out like, friend, you seem stressed out and I see you getting real mad at your kid. But like what's happening for you? For real. Like, yes, this is a stressful job. What do you need and what is happening? What is happening? Because that's really what it is. And we often don't have language for that, right? That the resentment, the hate that comes up within us around our mothers. Um, and it is our work to deal with it because also often our mothers did not deal with it that way. They didn't feel like they could say, hey, I don't like my mother, I don't like how I was mothered, my childhood was fucked up, right? They got all these different parameters
Mm-hmm.
around what that means. So it is so important. It is so important. Like motherhood has to stop being also this thing of like not necessarily because I feel like it's gonna be a sacrifice anyways, because
Mm-hmm.
duh, like you sacrifice things, but
Right.
it has
And
to also stop
sacrifice
being.
means to make sacred. So what they actually might need to talk about is more about the sacrifice about what we make it sacred. Because mothers don't make sacred their own care. Not all the time. I think today's mothers, like my cousin is a mom of a 2-year-old now. And it's like, it's funny, her birthday is tomorrow. Yeah, he just turned 2.
A
And
long
it's like,
time.
right? And it's like watching her revolutionize. And also so many of my friends who are my age who have children, it's like they move very differently than my mom did, which is like, I'm gonna like I feel like the questions are different of like, how can I pour from this empty cup is what I feel like my mom was trying to figure out. I ain't got nothing, but how can I still dig into the deep well of the earth and pull out something versus like other people's question is like, who can care for my kid that I trust because I have a network now while I go fill up my cup because I cannot provide for you when I am not here, and I think that's been such an interesting thing to see how the making what people are making sacred now moving forward with motherhood um, is important. But that was a sidebar. You were saying it's motherhood needs to be stopped. We need to stop tethering it with this idea of like um, martyrdom type of sacrifice versus the making like don't lay your body down as the thing for the sacrifice. Like no, that's
Right.
not
I
what
gotta
we
I gotta do this for my kids. Don't do that for us. We don't need it. It does not work for us.
and it creates
It also
resentment.
it creates resentment because also on top of, okay, when mothers are not taking care of themselves, the children are instantaneously impacted. Okay. And then on top of that, we are also, I think mothers may forget, or people are not taught about this about motherhood, but like children are looking at you as the example for their lives. So this is how we then learn how to love, is that you give up yourself to show that you love someone else. And then when that doesn't seem like enough, then you just didn't do enough. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not good for mothers because they're giving their bodies to
Mm-hmm.
give life to another being.
Right.
So one, that is a choice. As much as possible, people can realize that's a choice that you make.
That's a choice. That's a choice.
And it is not, when you're talking about sacrifice, thank you for even pointing that out. It is, in fact, to make sacred. And so, anyone choosing to create a human being and to usher life through their bodies, it is important that you are making everything about this has to be sacred. Who touches your body? Sacred. Who you allow access into your body? Into your body. Okay, so I'm talking about doulas, I'm talking about midwives, I'm talking about partners, I'm talking about friends. All of that is important, right? Any family members you allow near you during that time, sacred, right? The food you eat, sacred, 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 sacred. Oh, New York. I witnessed this yesterday and it really like rattled my being. It wasn't my body, it was my being. where this woman was on the train. She was arguing with some dude. I don't know what the relationship was at all,
Mhm.
but she's arguing with some dude. She's clearly visibly pregnant. Okay. And
Mhm.
she is ripping into home. And I'm just like, I don't know if this is on hormones or what, but she's going off on the train. And a dude goes further down the car and he's trying not to respond to her. But then he comes back around. I guess he's also now pissed because he's like, yo, I'm really trying to keep it together, but you were really going ham. She was going ham. And she starts going, she gets on the phone with somebody, and the person's like, yo, you need to calm down. You're screaming, yo, I'm pregnant. But like you have to realize you are pregnant. Like
You
you
are
cannot be
pregnant.
out here doing it. So
Yes.
after the dude gets off the train, she's now holding her stomach, she's hunched over, holding her belly. And I'm like, sis, sacred. So I don't know. Again, I don't know what the conversation was between him and her and what that detail was, but I'm certain that a whole lot of dudes and a lot of people do not know how to hold sacred birth and labor and like holding a child in a being. Also, this woman was not clear at all about the impact of arguing with this dude on the train. Because also, girl, you're alone.
Mhm.
You're alone on the train, arguing with this man, threatening to fight him. Girl, you are pregnant, you know? So it's just like, it was, and it's again, not to even say that she's a bad mom, but it was this click moment of like, yo, people really don't understand how sacred,
Mhm.
how sacred birthing and like labor is,
Yeah.
right? Creating a human being, human life,
Right.
sacred.
Yes.
Okay. And so we have to deal with the mother wound because I can't imagine what was coming up for all the other people on the train who was witnessing this pregnant woman
Mhm.
because nobody knew how to hold her.
Right.
Do you be like, hey girl, I'm here for you? Or like, and do
Right.
you jump in between her and this dude who's also actively threatening to get somebody to fight her? And I'm just like, I don't know what. Literally, I was like, wait, don't threaten that you're gonna get people to beat her up. No, wait a minute.
I know
You
it's
know,
so interesting is I'm thinking like in an ideal society, an ideal world, you would be able to intervene, right? We anyone, like, or not just it
anyone.
shouldn't just be on one person. It should be a group of us being like, hey, yo, like I understand something as larger is happening. I don't want you to put it
Mm-hmm.
aside because this person is pregnant. But can we like take some deep breaths? Somebody go talk to Buddy on the side, somebody come talk to Shawty over here, and we can
Yeah,
like
yeah,
amicably go about this, but exactly like you're saying, because we're all not connected to the sacredness of life. Somebody pregnant in
mm-hmm.
front of you, like this is going to be your future. This person is carrying the future too. They carry in a person who's going to be the leaders of our tomorrow, and like that
Right.
matters to you. That
Yeah,
should matter to us all, but we don't know how, like you said, how to hold it. We're not taught, and also because of the whole, like you just said, is a choice. I think so many people look at people like that's your choice. Why I gotta suffer the consequences of your choice? I mean, you don't gotta suffer the consequences of the choice, but also their choice ripples out to affect everybody, which is
right.
always been the case. Um, and that's really sad to think like that could have been that needed an intervention, but on what grounds? And also, how are we going to do that when it's not the basis of relation? Because I feel like if
Mm-hmm.
you try to, I feel like they get mad at you. They probably both turn and be like, "What the fuck?"
Like, get the fuck out of here. And I'm just like, we really have to. We have to. We have to. Because I'm hoping. My prayer was that whoever she was on the phone with supports her after she gets like when she gets home and be like, hey girl, this might honestly be your hormones that are causing you to also then like flare up. How do we better support you? What is this person eating? Right? What is their home environment like? What is the
Mhm.
situation here?
Right.
'Cause I
What is
still
even
don't know
happening?
who this man was to her.
Right.
Like, was he the baby
Right.
father? Was he some dude she was just dealing with? Like, what's
Right.
what? You know? But we also have to again deal with the mother wound within us, so that we can better address that. Because I think for Black people, so I'm going to speak from my Black ass experience. My Black ass experience is also one of like mothers have to be hard, have to be tough,
Mm.
They have to be strong. They have to be um, not necessarily emotionless, but emotions are weakness,
Mm,
are seen as weakness in a lot of ways.
mhm,
Um, Softness is dangerous to the child because they may not survive in the world because the world is not soft.
mm,
And
mhm,
that's something that I've realized and learned. And as I continue to learn about anxiety, depression, and the ways that it shows up for Black people, especially Black women, and from my own experience, being like, oh, maybe my mother was anxious, maybe my mother was depressed. What does that now
mhm,
mean? Larger
mhm,
scale. Um, and how does that then change my perspective? Again, not justifying any of the behaviors.
mhm, mhm,
We don't got to justify it, but we do have to talk about it. What does it mean that a lot of us in this new era, I think people are scared to say, and I'm going to say it for myself, afraid to say, like, a lot of our parents, we don't know how to be the children. We're struggling with being the children of parents who have a lot of mental health issues.
mhm.
And that's the truth of it. They have a lot of trauma and therefore a lot of mental health issues. And it's not a negative. It just
It- it-
is. If the world has fucked us up, the world has fucked them up too.
Oh yeah.
Or
If they fucked us
impacted
up,
them.
it's because they got fucked up.
Yeah, that's really it. The fuck that
Because again,
they
like
got
that's
fucked up.
something I say often too. You very rarely, I've never heard of someone's like, yeah, I came from a well-adjusted home where I was respected and my boundaries were respected and I could close my door and nobody got mad and people asked me for my consent on everything and now I got mental health issues. Never heard that. Always, always here it's like, yeah, this there's always scarcity. There's always some harm that has occurred too.
Mhm.
That then it gets passed along because it's like at what point I actually saw this TED talk once. It was amazing. It was sent to me by a mother actually. And it was talking about how our parents live in the indicative form and we get to live in the subjunctive. So those who know with the grammar, indicative is like I am, I was, I will be, like the tenses that we tend to know. Subjunctive is more like that could have happened. That may be like a shouldy. It's more like a more dreams or more possible language. It's speaking more about like conditional things and like potential
Nothing
things.
is said.
And so he was speaking specifically about the language. I think he was talking about like I feel like he was talking about like Thai, but in Taiwan and even in Chinese, there's not a lot of subjunctive things. It's like we doing this, we're going here. It's not like if you had done this, we could have done this, and this could have been different. And it's like no, we were in survival, we were moving. And I think about my mom didn't have time to really worry and dream about other possibilities. It was like move or get hit. Like you got to just move with it, and that gave space for me now to spend so much time in the subjunctive of like if only this had happened or this could have happened, so much more room to dream because they had to suffer so much. Or she
Mhm.
didn't have the opportunity to ask what if and what could have happened. She had to
Mhm.
address what was going on in the present to make sure that there was a future, like you were saying, so much of the survival base. And it now allows for us to go and see differently, but also it's caused a lot of harm in the
Mhm.
process of because when you live for survival, you really miss out on a lot of you take on a lot of things, and I feel like you miss out on so many important
Mhm.
nutrients. For instance, eating
Mhm.
like bread is like going to fill your belly, but then if you have celiac disease or you're doing anything,
Yeah.
now you stuffed and you're sick and it's worse. But that was what we needed to help you survive at the time. And it's like just because it aids in our survival doesn't mean it aids in our flourishing nor in our thriving. It sometimes is even more, it's harmful for us.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think as we move forward in relationship, trying in an attempt to heal our mother wounds, it is important to be present to how they show up in our relationships.
Yes.
Um, who else are we blaming for our mother wound? Um, Partnerships, friendships, in what who again, that's why I said like it is important. Thank you for asking how I define mother, right? It is important to understand how we define mother and holding as a part of that definition that mothers are human beings.
Human beings.
There is no book for being a mother in anybody's culture. I don't care what religion you practice. I don't care how good and holy your grandmother was. There is when your mom became mom, played by ear.
Play by ear.
And you
Right.
better hope they can hear well and like hear well and like hear well, right? That
Hmm.
their intuition is clear as well as their hearts. And really often not, right? Like it's still every child is gonna be different no matter how many kids they got. Um, but like always remembering our mothers, it has been the most healing thing for me to be present to my mother as a person.
Hmm.
What the fuck? And
Hmm.
I could be mad at the person, and I can be mad at her as a person, and I can be mad at her as in her role as mother for what I
Hmm.
feel like she could have done differently and better. And also,
Hmm.
like you said, acknowledge like I don't know a lot of my mother's story. I don't know. There are lots of things we all do not know about our mothers. No matter how much we think we know, right? No
Right.
matter how present we have been to the story and the experience of them, my mother still has lots of secrets that I do
Hmm.
not know, just things about her life on a daily basis I do not know,
Right.
right? And that is something to reconcile. That we actually do not know oftentimes our mothers in a deeper sense, in a more intimate sense. And mothers also feel like that is something that they have to keep to themselves, right? I hear that a lot with moms. It's like, I
Hmm.
can't tell my kids it's not their responsibility for them to hold this and that. And that's great and all, but we also need to know.
Yeah.
We need to know that you have a capacity, that you have a limit, not
Right.
to your love, right? Not ever to your love, but to your human, your physical capacity as
Yeah.
a human being,
Absolutely.
and that is important. I think that that is important for the autonomy of people who want to be mothers, who are becoming mothers, and who are mothers now, is that
Hmm.
it is okay that you have a limit and a cap, and that sometimes you don't like your kids. We need to know that sometimes you don't like us, and that that's okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you hate us. It doesn't mean
Yeah.
you don't want us.
Yes.
I think I've spent a lot of time unlearning, especially recently, that I am unwanted.
Hmm.
Even if, even though it is true that that is how I have felt, right? Not unwanted.
Hmm.
I think it has been a matter of my mother figuring out how to hold all the emotions.
Hmm.
How do I hold the frustration? How do I hold the anger or the resentment or the jealousy? How do I
Hmm.
hold the confusion, the power? I think that also mothers specifically struggle with having that much power. Cause can you fathom whatever? I heard this in a movie and I think it's ridiculous, but it's the most on point shit I've ever heard. Mother
Hmm.
is God in the eyes of a child. What the fuck?
Say that again. What?
Mother is God in the eyes
Oh.
of a child.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, yeah.
She begot you. You came through like the way he read God in the Christian Bible is he is the way, the word, and all the truth, and he's who made you. I mean, literally. Your dad is like the clay that God took to make Adam, but like God did that. And it's like
So
I can, and it's so interesting, and it's interesting too because I think a lot about power, how people conflate power with tyranny a lot because that's what happens when I feel like you're scarce growing up or you have witnessed unjust usage of power. So then you just wait
mhm.
until you just can't wait to be king so I can go ahead and oppress people too.
They're gonna do what I say. They're gonna love me forever. And if they don't love me, I can guilt them into loving me. Why? Because I made that shit, and they wouldn't be here without me. Some people don't want to admit that they be rushing to be moms for that reason,
Oh yeah.
for the power play, to have your own little team that you made of your own image, you know.
Right.
But also, and I think any artist can tell you that when you create something, it is so important to let that motherfucker go. You gotta let them live It is okay that you worry about them, that you are concerned, that you are, and also you can't have it be to your own detriment
Mhm.
because otherwise it won't live. It won't. It
Mm.
won't. It won't live to the best that it could. It could if
Mm.
you
To
were doing
flourish.
better. You know, it
Yeah.
won't flourish and bloom properly,
Hmm.
or to its fullest capacity.
Yeah.
Um, and I think like I would want to talk more to even like younger people like teen moms,
Hmm.
about what, and just like more so rephrase. I would want to talk to the mothers of teen moms
Mm.
in the sense of like, you know that this is not like a negative, right? Like
Right.
society tells you that this is a negative, but instead of like sending this young person off to just do their own things since they think they're so grown, like nurturing
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
because they just
Yeah.
wanted to create something so that maybe they could have some more control over their lives. If they created something, maybe they could continue to be in love if they created something together. If
Hmm.
something would no matter what keep them tied into a situation, to a person, to an experience,
Yeah.
and not guilting people for their choice not to be mother.
Hmm.
Because that has caused a lot of the mother wounds in our society. Is people
Hmm.
being forced to be mothers.
Yes. Yes. Creating a life should not be the answer to anything aside from I'm ready to create a life and nurture it into its whatever it wants to be. And so often it's not that. It's like we've talked about this a lot, like the inner resentment that capitalism creates by forcing people to have kids.
Mhm.
Like so many people don't even think it. Like I think about people actually the woman we're staying with, she talks a lot about Chelsea Handler, because Chelsea Handler makes a lot of points about not having kids. And she's like, making fun of people like y'all just jealous because I get to live my life. But she had to come to that point because she was shamed heavily for choosing not to have kids. What's wrong with you? That's your God-given right. You could do what? Just because you have it doesn't mean you need to go ahead and do that, first of all.
Thank
And like
goodness.
more big ups to the people, huge shout out to the people who are like, actually, I'd rather not. I don't feel prepared. I don't have the desire. I don't want to like anybody who talk about children as little snot nose, whatever, they need to not have kids. And I'm glad that they have some of those have decided not to do that. Like let them honor their choice to not want to do that.
Mhm.
But it is a pressure for sure. Now I feel like it's like shifting slightly, but like there still is a pressure, like pressure to get married, right? Pressure to have a kid, because it's like how you gonna keep propagating your DNA in this world? It's like whoa, it feels like that's a very personal question, and I feel like maybe I'm not pressed about that. Maybe I know that I can impact other people in other ways. And like again, I really love the way you introduced this topic is like the other ways you can mentor and mother somebody that doesn't have to be out of you because you know your capacity. And it's what's great about those folks is like they know their capacity. Don't try to be like, oh no, you don't know, you never know what it's like to be a mom. It's a gift that it keeps on giving. I mean, it also takes a lot. It's a gift that keeps on taking too.
I cannot fathom. I can't. With my own little experience of it, I cannot fathom. I can't. I can't. And also, I think thank you for saying that. Even the part where you're like, this person is only you only get the title of mother if someone bestows it upon you. We, the children, have allowed our parents to be parents
Yes. You became a parent when you
without
had
me.
me. Yeah.
You're welcome. This title that you want to be proud of, it's me.
Right.
You're welcome.
Right.
um, yeah, and that it takes a lot. It takes a lot. It takes And even the parts I've heard a lot of parents say, this is in fact a thankless job. And I was like, not even just because your kids just won't say thank you, but because they don't know that for a long time until later that this is something they even supposed to be thankful for.
Especially if they had hard lives.
Right. And so also, how do you expect that they will be like, oh, thank you so much? When you fucked up. Um, you showed them that motherhood or parenting is shitty and that you have done a shitty job. And so it is also like, I think that I'm learning so much more, even that parenting and mothering specifically is a vulnerable job.
Yes. And
Because,
vulnerable, which my favorite definite. Like I love vulnerable as a word because it comes from the Latin vulnus, which means wound. So it is both wounded, ability to be wounded, showing your wounds, at risk of being wounded.
right? So, like, children, I think the reason a lot of parents don't even share and mothers may not share about their own experience is out of the fear of showing the wound. But we need to see it because we came from the womb. We even created a wound, whether you came out
Creative.
vaginally or C-section. We came from the wound.
Yeah, some people also, this is a sidebar, but related. I was talking to a good friend of mine who was saying that his mom has a lot of back pain. My mom also has a lot of back pain. I know my best
My
friend
mother also has a
also
lot of
has a
back
lot of
pain.
back pain. And come to find out, epidurals, which is usually, as Shirley from Community said, a good Christian woman's only legal way to get wrecked or something like that. But the idea of it like taking away the pain because it helps with the birth, that's come to find out really fucks you up after the fact. Because they having a needle that's like this thick through your back and then numbing you essentially entirely so that you can pass this life through you. And like
Even further, right?
Mhm.
Sorry, I'm interrupting you.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
And even further, the epidural would probably be less needed if people were encouraged to properly give birth.
Yes,
You should not
squatting
be
and
laying on
such.
your fucking back. Why are you laying
Exactly.
on your back?
Right, laying on your
You
back
know?
in the most vulnerable position. And in that case, woundable, like to be wounded position. Because you're straining. You're supposed to be crouched. You're supposed to be in water. People supposed to be singing around you. It's not supposed to be
Because
this
I'm
sterile
right,
laying on your
right.
back thing.
And then somebody come and take your child away from you
Immediately. Or have the nerve to give the kid to you when you
Oh, we gotta do better. It is all the things. It's all the things. It's all the things. Um, the
Oh my
mother
god, someone was telling their male partner that women can like birth, they could birth them, like give birth themselves. And the dude was like, "What? No, they can't." Because he had no clue, and they had to go look up videos. Like, yeah, that's how far we have been misguided, lied to show power in a particular way, that to give power to the medical industrial complex versus like understanding that inherently people know how to birth them. It's it's just it happens. It happens, and I feel like it's intuitive when you are in connection and given the ability to connect with your body, versus like constantly having to go visit the doctor and stuff like that. And a lot of people don't have doulas. So you're going to this very sterile, clean, objective, space to learn about this thing that is not clean or objective at all. Very tied, very relational, very subjective.
Right, right. And so it is, and again, community. That's why it is a community. It's community work to heal the mother wound. It is
Yes.
community work. Um, it's not just, oh, that's their business over there. That's whatever. Because we bring all that shit with us everywhere. We bring it all over the place. So for today, Mother's Day is cute or whatever, because also like, why do parents get a day when y'all parents every
Every
day?
day, every fucking day,
Every day is Mother's Day,
every day.
you know? So I would even say, like, if it is hard, if Mother's Day is hard for you, allow every day to be Mother's Day, and in such a way that like every day you get to at least celebrate the parts the parts of your mother that you are grateful for. Thanks for giving me life. I wouldn't have an opportunity to heal if it wasn't for my mother. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to be in love if it was not for my mother.
Yeah.
I would not. I would not understand any level of nurturing
Yeah.
if it was not for my mother.
I wouldn't have met you, Charlie, if it wasn't for my mother.
Thank you. Thank you, mom.
Yeah.
And it has been my work to like heal the parts of myself, and the parts of my relationship with my mother that like just have to do with me and my experience of her. Not even because sometimes we think that we need to heal with our mothers and when we have a
Right.
mother wound, and it
Mm-hmm.
is. I've obviously we have learned that is not the case. We have to heal from the experience of them, but also like our idea of them, who we thought that
Yeah.
they were gonna be, who they could be, would be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been really helpful and a lot. It's been really helpful and a lot. Um, because I didn't know if I was even gonna say anything to my mother for Mother's Day. If I'm gonna be real dead ass about it. I ain't gonna say shit. But then, really realizing like, no, that is my hurt. My hurt is saying that. My hurt is saying that. And also, I get to give homage, pay homage to this person, right? This woman who made a choice, even if she didn't realize she had a choice. She made a choice to mother me to the best of her ability.
Absolutely.
All the mess and like all the mess, um, through all the mess, right? And I think that that is, I know what that is like to also like do your best with a thing and fuck up tremendously. We know that thing. So also that it's like it's a healing point for myself. It's a healing point, possibly for her. Um, but I also understanding like my healing is her healing.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to say, to just feel lighter about in conversation about her, around her, um, helps me feel lighter about it, and it also helps I think other people feel lighter about it. Because I want to be able, if I do decide to have children, if that is a thing, but even like in relationship with any children in my life, friends, children, anything, I want to be able to feel good about that experience and not be carrying around this deep mother wound, like, because then it
Right.
impacts how I feel like I can show up, for a child in my life. Like, what can I offer them but the fucked up shit my mother did to me? No, I have
Mm-hmm.
other tools. I have had other experiences in healing. Like, I can offer them that. What are the parts of my mother that have been nurturing? There
Right.
have been moments when she has been nurturing glimpses, uh,
Mm.
that I get to expand on and to lean into.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's important for us to do on Mother's Day, even if we're not celebrating our moms. Like, really
Mm-hmm.
pay homage to the passageway and her humanity, that person's humanity that has mothered me. And also shout out to my other mother. Shout out to my other mother because I have been
Mm-hmm.
mothered, so deeply and beautifully mothered.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for that mothering because she didn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she didn't have to, and I feel like it was never a mothering out of pity.
Mm-hmm.
Never a mothering out of scarcity, like, oh, you don't got no mother, so I'm gonna come take care of you. But really out of like, I feel connected to you and I am willing to support you and offer some level of guidance and nurturing. So if
Right.
you are having a hard time, if you do make a mistake and you can't go anywhere else, please come
Mm-hmm.
here
Right.
so I can love on you,
Right.
while also respecting the person who brought me into the world. Who brought me into the world. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for all of the ways that I have been mothered. Uh, and I think more people leaning into being mothered in other ways, being open to being mothered by other folks is healing for us. Even as adults, you get to be mothered by other people. Um, yeah. It's very
Yeah.
healing. Oh,
Yeah.
and that the mother wound includes your grandmother and your aunties too.
Yes.
Them too.
Oh yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
FYI.
Oh yeah. I've
Whew.
actually, my grandpa passed recently, and I've got to spend a lot of time with my family, and with my dad's oldest. He has two other siblings, an older brother and older sister, and I often stayed with my aunt, growing up and stuff. That's why I'm so close to my dad's side of the family, and then seeing her just like, ooh, I've been like, oh my god, it's me. So many things that I have attributed to my mom. I'm like, wait a second now. Was it actually you, Auntie? It was you, Auntie. It's also like interesting how they kind of reflect each other. Um,
Mhm,
so fascinating. But like for instance, my aunt was so giving of herself during this time when she's in grief. Like her home became the base
mhm,
where everybody's like gathering, right? She also had like a little reception after the memorial service and like had people staying there, put on this whole event. And like I remember checking in with her every now and then, and it's like I can tell this is what helps her is like caring for other people, but then
mhm,
also how do you care for yourself? And that's
mhm,
something I've struggled with a lot. That's also something my birth mom has struggled with too, is like this obligation, this carrying out of obligation.
mhm.
Um, and it's like, ooh, that part has been hard to, I think that's what I'm so grateful for in not speaking with my mom. And also I've become so much clearer in this time that forgiveness really is for you. It's not
For
it's not
you.
for nobody else but for you, because I've
Yeah.
thought about like have I for like and also it's a process. I feel like you don't forgive and then like okay, I'm all good, yeah, I forgive you forever. It's like things come up frequently, especially if there's been a lot of rupture, and
Mhm,
like a series of forgivings for me to
mhm,
of allowing the past to be. Oprah said a quote, I think it was Oprah, and I loved it, which is forgiveness is letting go of the hope of a better past, and I love that. Yes.
Forgiveness is letting go of a hope of the hope for a better path.
Hmm.
Write that down. Oh my God.
Yeah. And that often sits with me because I think so much of my heartache comes from, oh, this could have been different. It should have been this way. If
Mhm,
only it had, and it's all this, like ruffling the past, versus like the series and process of accepting, like, I mean, we can't change the past. For if only my mom was treated better, then she'd treat me better. I mean, but she wasn't.
she
And
wasn't.
so I wasn't either, but she also, like you were saying, did her best that she could. And
Mhm,
it still hurt me, and there's also still parts of it that were really beautiful. um and like realizing forgiving my mom doesn't mean like calling her up and chatting it up and being like, let's get into connection. um
mhm,
because I feel like so much of this time too has been like, I don't know, I feel like my mom and I have forcibly related to each other because of the mother thing.
mhm,
And I feel like in this time, I feel like I'm freeing myself from like feeling like I have to talk to her because she's my mom, and like
mhm,
regarding her as a human being. Like I want to check in with my mom sometimes because I just want to know how she's doing as a
mhm,
person in these
mhm,
very tumultuous, emotional times with my little brother who is clearly growing up in this tumultuous time. Like
mhm,
knowing that she got a lot going on and wanting to be there for her as like a genuine friend, and feeling, oh wow, that's a shift in me where it's not like I want to go save my mom from anything, but I just want to be a
mhm,
friend to her and support her.
mhm,
um and it's nice to be able to feel that. And then also we were speaking about this before of like other people, of people going to seek other forms of support, because I feel like my
mhm,
mom has had a lot of really, she has great friends that support her livelihood, like will help
mhm,
her financially and like let her vent to them and stuff. But like in terms of nurturing her growth through challenging moments, my mom has a lot of
mhm,
enabling people in her life. My mom is
mhm.
the type to fly off the handle and scream and pop off on people, like, and that's just not acceptable. Like, I don't care who
You
you are,
cannot do
somebody,
that.
you do not need to be, and that kind of screaming. That should
Mhm,
be reserved for nobody. But I feel like she has a lot of people who will let her do that. And I feel like I was often the only person who was like, you cannot be talking to people like that. Or like it does not serve anybody when you talk like that to
mhm,
people. Um, and realizing like as I remove my presence, I mean, she's open to finding more people who can help her
mhm,
in that way. But it's not my job. And releasing
Mhm.
myself from that role of feeling like I have to go save her has been really helpful. I'm curious. I'm often curious how she's doing. I sometimes see her pictures every now and then, and her eyes look sad, um, and that makes me sad. Like it's
Mhm.
definitely a sad time to not like. I think that's the thing is like my mom is like thinking that I'm over here celebrating every day that we're not talking, and I'm like,
Mhm.
that's just not true, you know. But I also
Mhm.
can't. I don't know. There's so many times I feel like I tried to relate to her or do something so that she wouldn't think a thing, or I don't want her to feel alone, so I'm gonna. And it's like,
Mhm.
I mean, it just got to let it be what it is. She can think whatever she wants, but like this time apart from her has given me so much more softness and really embracing that she's a human being and like compassion. Not like last conversation we had talked about compassion being something that
Mhm.
you can like. Oh, you had said compassion is like a portal into forgiveness and wholeness, and
Mhm.
it feels like that. It feels like it feels like actually getting to feel my feelings instead of like, okay, well, I'm going to see my mom on Tuesday, so I can't actually think about how mad I am. I got to put it away so that I can pull
Mhm.
up on and be respectful toward her. But it's like now I get to just feel the feelings, and as I feel my feelings, and like you were saying, moms and dads, parents are people. They're whole people with a whole experience, and letting it really be like my mom has like as much. And I know, like I think on the opposite end of a lot of people, I know a lot about my mom. She's told me a lot of her stories and her trauma.
Mhm.
But even then, I can know it intellectually, but I'm not her in her body going
Mhm.
through those experiences.
Mhm.
Um, just like she can't know exactly what I'm going through. Um, and that has been so much of our issue too, of us vying for regard over our experiences. Like, you don't know what it's like
Mhm.
to be me. And she's like, you don't know what it's like to be me. And I'm like, if we're going to just stand here crossing our arms about how we don't know what it's like to be each other, we're not going to get anywhere.
Right.
Um, and it feels like taking away the interfacing, the having to talk to each other lets it be just like truly like thinking about my experience, thinking about her experience, and letting us just be human. Um, and not forcing anything. Cause like I don't know what the future holds. You know, I'm open into chatting with my mom in the future. I can see a version of that.
Mhm.
Um, I don't think it's here right now because I'm still, moving through the things. But yeah, it's like such a tender experience. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, and it really
Yeah.
it requires so much like patience and not trying to rush it, um, and self compassion.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say that like Mother's Day calls forth um, a need for compassion, need for intense care,
Hmm.
sometimes isolation and like solace, like being alone, and also community. This is to me really helpful to the community part for not being one of those people who's like, oh my god, I can't wait, I'm going out with my mother on Mother's Day. Like we're not doing that. Um, and the compassion, right? And the compassion both for yourself and for your mom. Um, and the truth of like, I don't know. And honestly, it's not my job to find out. That we are not necessarily our parents' keepers. We have some responsibility to um, care for the portals that we have come through, for the
Hmm.
people that we have come through,
Right.
and also it is important that we are leaning into how do we support ourselves and heal our mother wounds so that we may just be more whole,
Hmm.
um, be more whole, be able to actually like tap into our own mothering well, our well of nurturing, our well of
Hmm.
creation, our well of responsibility for our creations, right?
Hmm.
Not to hinder them, not to try to not necessarily even try to keep them safe, but to protect them to the best of our abilities and trust that they will be protected,
Right.
trust that they will be cared for and carried, trust that they will live well,
Hmm.
right? And the more that we live, we lean into our well of being. I've been leaning into our well of being. The better off everything that we create can and will be.
Mm-hmm.
And that mother is not limited to woman. That every person, non-binary, gender non-conforming, trans, however you become a mother, it is important that you address your understanding and definition of what it means to be a mother, and also be open to that expanding
Mm-hmm.
and changing over time.
Yeah.
Um, Remembering that mothers, I don't give a fuck what their gender identity is, um, they're people first. And I think as a society, as we continue to show up for abortion rights, for sex ed, for honoring the autonomy of people in their bodies,
Mm-hmm.
that is also a healing of the mother wound, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think honoring people's choice to become parents, 100 billion in every sense of the word. Again, I don't care about the gender. Every single person has to have autonomy and choice in becoming a parent, and we have to do better at. I think in general, fighting for those things will be how we also impact our own experiences with that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times, our mothers did not have a choice, did not know they had a choice. They were not prioritized or held well in a community, and that is more reason why we also have to be better as community in community with how we support each other, ourselves, and the children in our spaces. Um, yeah, dealing with that mother wound. Oh my god. And knowing that it don't gotta be traumatic. It don't gotta be like, oh, my mother did this horrible thing to me. Look, they made mistakes. So honor that. Be present with that. And know that that's okay. It is okay. Also still lean into it. Find wherever you can in your heart to pay homage, and to be grateful for whatever the life giving power was.
Right.
No
You
matter
know, I
how
was
janky.
thinking too, even going to the beach, Mother Earth
Right.
stuff. How?
Mother Earth stuff.
Why Mother's Day not about? Why Mother's Day not Earth Day? You
Yeah.
know,
Also, if you're struggling with mother wound, go to the beach, get in the water,
get in the water,
take a
be
bath.
held, like float, just be held.
If you want to be held, go float. Go float. If you are scared of water or cannot swim, take yourself a bath.
Right.
If you can't do that,
Go
just
sit
like
by a
run your
tree.
hand. Go lay on the grass.
Go
Take
lay
an
on the
allergy pill. Go
grass.
lay on the grass. Okay.
How
From
come the
the earth
wind?
we have
You know, the wind
come.
don't get no play for Mother's Day too. The wind is filling this whole thing with oxygen.
Right.
Or
Right.
even the food we eat, we don't even say thank you so much.
The wind supports the carrying of pollination, like pollinating shit. It's part of the process. Okay, it
Mm-hmm.
moves things around, supports the flow of things. A
Mm,
billion percent right. Yes, if you struggle overall with mother things, again, alive or deceased.
mm-hmm.
Thank you, Gary, for saying that. The ocean is where you get to also pay homage. The land is where you get to pay homage, like in the soil, putting your hands in the soil,
Mm-hmm.
um, putting your feet on the soil, on the ground, connecting with a tree or a plant, flowers, like really being with the what I call it, the grand maestro. Nature is the grand maestro. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
nature is the grand maestro. Mother Earth is the teacher to us all, right? The mother to us all, the mother to us all. So whether you are already a parent and dealing with your mother wound, or you are not a parent or a mother and dealing with your mother wound, deal with your mother wound. Be with your mother wound because we need it. We need it. Right?
Right.
Know that that gets to be a part of your self care. Yeah. So what you doing to take care of your heart today? Okay.
Today, I might actually go to the beach. because we're in Delray Beach, so it's like a convenient, maybe like 20-minute walk.
Hmm.
I'm going to. I have some stuff that I want to share with my mom. I think I'm gonna take it to the wind. Um,
Mm.
yeah, just share. Say it. We were just talking about this in regards to friend breakups and like recommunion or reunions, but like I truly believe that when you talk to the wind, it brings it to their ears, if they're willing to receive it.
Right.
Um, yeah, that's what I'm thinking for sure. I was actually going to tell my partner to thank you I'm going to wish him happy Mother's Day. Because he has really been. It's funny. The pattern said today. Let me see if I can find it.
Oh, the pattern.
It says, right. Although he may not be aware of his effect on you, he's activating the areas where you're vulnerable. His presence will force you to feel and confront your pain. They always saying this about Ro. And it's like true, because he definitely calls me. He's such a soft person. Sometimes I find myself getting like mothering the way I have mothered or been mothered, which is forceful. And like, what do you mean you don't know? And it's like, I mean, how you gonna yell at somebody for not knowing something? Like they don't know. And so like he's really called me to be soft in so many ways and to be gentle and to be kind. And so I want to acknowledge that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe I think I'm going to take a note. I also want to take some time to acknowledge. It's funny because Sundays are also the days I try to acknowledge folks and praise folks, because it's a great praise day. But I'm going to reach out to the folks who have mothered me, and I wanted to thank you, Charlie, too, for taking care of my mother when you did Reiki for her
Mm.
and for my father, and how that has really shifted and helped us so much. Yeah,
You're
yeah.
welcome. Thank you for letting me. I told her, I was like, wait, I did do freaky for both your parents.
Both my parents. So you have mothered my family.
Wow.
And I mothered my parents, and I appreciate that. And also just helping me. You've mothered my being okay with, my cosmic black hole nature, as you're saying, as you've said, just the vastness and being okay with being so multifaceted, being all over the place. You never judge me. And I really appreciate that. And so yeah, you're the first person I'll say also happy Mother's Day too. And thank you so much for mothering me, taking care of me, nurturing me to become who I am today. You play a big role in it. Which is funny because I feel like you're always praising me. And I'm like, that's also you. So thank you.
I was like, I could literally say all the particular things about you. I'm receiving that. I receive that. I'm receiving it. I take it. I got it. Thank you. Thank you for that. And yes, happy Mother's Day to you again. For the different ways that you mother yourself, that you seek tools and better tools, that you seek to continue to create, and to nurture not just yourself but other people. Um, you are a great, you are an awesome, awesome guide with your vastness. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and birthing and creating so much more, care in the world, um, more in depth, like thought and feeling. Um, yeah, and also like Gary, I have never seen someone reparent themselves in such a way. So also, shout out to you, your bravery in reparenting both yourself and also releasing parenting your parents. Because I also know that that is a challenge, to release parenting our parents. Um, yeah.
Yeah. I called it
So
my
with that
greatest
being said,
selfish act. And my friend Phoenix called it your act of liberation. So
yeah,
I've been hoping.
yeah. And for anybody else who is grieving their mom, right? If you recently stopped talking to mom, if you've just shifted in relationship with mom, if you have come to realization around your mother wound, right? It's new to you, right? Or if it's a wound that's been open and bleeding for a long time, um, allow yourself to take a breath, acknowledge the grief, and know that you still deserve and get to be mothered. You get to be held, you get to be seen, you get to be ushered. And I keep saying ushered and guided very specifically because there's an infancy in that. Um, there's a humbling in that, and not knowing. And it's in a lot of ways, our mothers didn't realize that they knew, that they had a lot of the answers.
Mm.
That they were told that they were wrong about what they knew about their body, about themselves, like their divine knowing. Um, and that it took a lot of their own intuition to get us wherever we got, wherever we got. And to this point, it took a lot of their own intuition, to the best of their ability. And so, for anybody struggling with that, I also want to say that to you too. Um, because you deserve it and you need it. You get to be mothered and guided. And the best way you could get your mother back for anything you feel like they have done wrong is to be well to yourself, be kind to yourself, be gentler to yourself, be more loving to yourself, and be more loving to other people, regardless of whatever you think their mother wound is and was. I think all of us have a mother wound because our parents are people.
Because our relationship with
So,
Mother Earth too,
yes,
we are
right.
not so great.
And always check in with your relationship to Mother Earth. Thank you so much for even bringing that back up too. Uh, all reflective, all reflective. Um, all right, so we are technically at time. This has been awesome, Gary. Thank you.
Mhm.
Happy
Thank
Mother's Day to
you,
all the
Charlie.
folks.
Happy
I love
Mother's
you
Day
so
to
much.
everyone. Yeah, I love
Um,
you.
this has been awesome. I'm about to go on the Instagram lives. So just in case anybody wants to excuse me, learn more about my work, learn more about what I do as far as readings go. Gary, definitely thank you for bringing that up too. Like everybody who is pregnant right now is ushering in some new leader of the future, right? They are the ones who are gonna have to live here and make some choices and call the shots. So like, come mess around and find out about your future. What that you might be forth into your own world, into your own next level and step. So I'll be doing some free readings there. They'll be all donation based. So you can find me at the Lit Healer on Instagram. Okay,
I'll put the
THE
info below.
HEALER. Holla at me. And happy Mother's Day. Please take care of your heart and your mind and your spirit today. Okay. Thank you so
Ashley.
much, Gary, for being in this conversation with me.
Thank you, Charlie. Love you so much.
I love you. I'll see you later. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. Mwah. Bye.
Bye.